Let's be honest, dealing with money can feel like a tangled mess, right? But what if the key to financial well-being wasn't some secret formula, but actually a new way of thinking? Let's explore how to unravel that knot, and we're going to start with a pretty unusual question.
I know, it sounds strange, but stick with me because the answer reveals how we can transform our finances from a source of anxiety into a source of real stability.
So, fun fact for you, some of the earliest knitted things ever found were socks. And just like those ancient socks, our financial life is this foundational layer. It's mostly invisible to everyone else, but it provides the structure and the comfort for everything we do. When it fits well, you barely even notice it, but when it doesn't, oh, you feel it all the time.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to unravel this topic step by step. We'll start with that unseen financial fabric. Then we'll dive into the psychology of the scarcity trap. From there, we'll get into the practical stuff, how to do a financial audit, how to adopt a startup mindset with a financial MVP, and finally, we'll look at a proven 7-step makeover.
Okay, so let's start with that core idea. We often treat our finances like this external thing, right? A problem to be solved out there. But really, they're intimately woven into the fabric of our daily lives. Before knitted stockings, people wore these rigid, kind of ill-fitting cloth versions. Knitting was this huge innovation because it created a flexible, comfortable structure that actually fit the individual. Our finances should do the exact same thing. A rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, it almost never works. We need a financial structure that fits our life comfortably. But what happens when that financial fabric is too tight? When it just doesn't fit? We fall into something called the scarcity trap. And if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by money worries, this next part is probably going to sound very, very familiar. Okay, so research from the book Scarcity shows that when we feel like we don't have enough money, it literally hijacks our brain. It reduces our mental bandwidth, that's our capacity for creative thinking and long-term planning. This forces us into tunneling, where we can only focus on the immediate fire in front of us, causing us to neglect other really important things. And this creates a vicious cycle. The stress from money problems hits our mental health, which then makes it harder to manage our finances, which creates, you guessed it, even more stress. And I want to be really clear, this is not a personal failing. It is a documented psychological trap. Just recognizing you're in it is the first step to breaking free. So, how do we start untangling this whole mess? The very first, most practical step is to get a clear, unemotional picture of exactly where you are right now. And we do that with a personal financial audit. Now, I know the word audit sounds terrifying, but think of this as a fact-finding mission, not a judgment day. The goal is not to feel bad. The goal is to get a crystal clear overview of your income, your expenses, your debts, and your investments. It's about turning those vague worries into concrete numbers you can actually work with. And here's the roadmap. First, you gather up your documents and figure out your income and net worth. Next, you take an honest look at your spending habits and review any investments. Then, with that clear picture, you can start to think about your goals and finally, edit your budget to match. It's a logical process, and it's designed to bring clarity, not chaos.
Okay, so once you have the facts from your audit, it's time for a really radical shift in mindset. Instead of thinking like a stressed-out consumer, we're going to start thinking like a lean startup entrepreneur.
This quote from the Lean Startup is everything. And in this case, guess who the customer is? It's you. Success isn't about creating a perfect, flawless budget on day one. No way. Success is about learning how to solve your own financial problems through experimentation.
So what's our first experiment? It's called a minimum viable product, or MVP. In personal finance, this is your most basic, stripped-down budget or savings plan. The point is not for it to be perfect. The point is to launch it fast and start the process of validated learning. That's just a fancy way of saying getting real data on what actually works for you. This is the engine of the whole lean startup method, the build, measure, learn loop. You build a simple plan. That's your MVP. You measure the results. Did you stick to it? Where did you struggle? And then you learn from that data, and you build the next, slightly better version. It's a continuous, low-pressure cycle of just getting better.
I mean, this really shows the fundamental shift, right? We're moving away from that old mindset of rigid budgets and this constant fear of failure. Instead, we're embracing a lean mindset of small experiments, learning, and constant iteration. You can't fail a budget. You can only learn from the experiment.
And what happens when an experiment shows that your initial plan isn't quite working? Well, in the startup world, you pivot.
A pivot is not a failure. It is a strategic, structured course correction based on what you just learned. So maybe your no spending on coffee rule was totally unrealistic. Okay, pivot. Try a coffee budget of $20 a week rule instead. It's a smart adjustment, not a defeat.
Now that we've got the facts from our audit and we have the right mindset for experimentation, we can apply a proven, structured plan. Let's take a look at the 7-step system from the Total Money Makeover.
A mindset is powerful, for sure, but a roadmap gives you direction. Think of the audit as your "you are here" on the map. The lean mindset is your car, and these 7 steps, these are your turn-by-turn directions.
The absolute key here is to follow these baby steps in order. You don't do it all at once. You focus all your energy on one goal at a time to build momentum. It starts with a small safety net, then tackles debt with the snowball method. After that, you build a full emergency fund, invest for the future, and then you start working towards those huge goals, like paying off your home and building lasting wealth.
And it all starts right here, with this one number. Baby step 1 is to save a $1,000 beginner emergency fund as fast as you possibly can. This isn't about getting rich, it's about creating a tiny buffer between you and life's little emergencies. This is your first tangible win that stops the cycle of going into debt for a flat tire or an unexpected bill. So let's just recap the toolkit we've put together. First, we started by understanding the psychology of that scarcity trap. Then, we learned how to get the facts with a financial audit. From there, we adopted a flexible new startup mindset. And finally, we saw how to execute a proven step-by-step plan.
If you take just one thing away from all of this, please let it be this. Managing your finances is a process of learning. And real learning requires being open to what feels like failure, or, as we're going to call them now, pivots. This isn't about perfection. It is all about progress.
Look, this isn't about overhauling your entire life tomorrow. It's about starting small. So what's your MVP? What's the one simple, small experiment you can build, measure, and learn from, starting today?